AP, let's try to see who's going to win the tip. Let's see. Tip-offs tonight. Denver Nuggets season, and hopefully it's a special one, is tonight. This is the Mile High Hoops podcast, coming to you a couple hours before the game against the Golden State Warriors. He is Danilo Piro. I am Jake Shapiro, better known as Shapiro and Piro, right here. We were talking all things Denver Nuggets. We had a big season preview pod the other day, so go check that out. Today we're going to be focusing on tonight's game a little bit more with the Denver Nuggets taking on the Golden State Warriors. In AP, they're underdogs. The Nuggets are underdogs to start the season that we all think they're going to be a championship contender.
It's crazy, man. I mean, I know Golden State's played one game already, so maybe there's a little bit of rust knocked off from Golden State's perspective. But look, Jake and I talked about it in our previous show. Like, it's a championship or bust season for Denver. And I have a lot of respect for Golden State, Stephen Curry and company, obviously a great organization. But this is a game, I'm like I said in the last pod, I don't think the Denver Nuggets should be afraid of any team in the NBA. David Adelman, over the course of the summer, talking about how we need to get out to quick starts, play better to start the year. What a test for Denver out of the gate against Golden State. And yes, they are underdogs, so definitely something to monitor here, but just excited to have the Nuggets back, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, me too. And you have to keep in mind that Golden State was a playoff team last year. They went to the second round of the playoffs like the Nuggets. They lost in 5 games because of Steph Curry got hurt. So little tough to see kind of exactly where this team's at, but what we know about this team is after the Jimmy Butler trade last year, they were one of the best teams in basketball. They had an incredible record, and they carried that on to the first game of this year where they just massacred the hobbled Lakers. So, take from that what you will. But I really like this Golden State team. I talked about it on the first podcast with you. I think between Golden State and Los Angeles, there are 2 teams in the Clippers that are veteran teams that are going to be really good and vie for home court in the West. I think the Clippers are a little bit more real than the Warriors, which is funny to say right now because you look at the 2 teams and we saw what happened game 1 for both teams. But this Warriors team is one that historically, at least the last couple of years with Steph Curry, has lost the Denver Nuggets. They literally never beat the Denver Nuggets with KCP. That shifted around late last year. The Warriors finally got a win against the Nuggets after like 12 straight wins by the Nuggets. I don't know that there was much to learn from that because that's kind of when all the chaos was going on with the Nuggets, and they actually beat the Warriors without Nikola Jokic in a game. But all we can tell you is recent history suggests the Denver Nuggets have played the Golden State Warriors really well, and they've played Jimmy Butler really well too, including the finals. So I feel good about tonight's matchup, and we're looking at 3 specific things, Anilo, in tonight's matchup that we're going to learn more about this season because, let's be honest, no one cares about what happens on October 23rd. We all care about what happens throughout the course of the season. So 3 things we're looking for in tonight's matchup. I'll let you start with number 1.
Yeah, the first thing for me is, look, Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world. We're all expecting him to live up to that, once again here this season. But, Batman needs his Robin. And the first thing that I'm looking for today, talking about David Adelman over the offseason, mentioning how they want to get out to fast starts, I think the key to that is Jamal Murray. And, Jamal, going back to not the media day that we just witnessed, but the media day prior, body language wasn't great. Body language wasn't great to start the season as well for Jamal. So I want to see how he looks physically, right? He looks pretty trim, looks to be in shape. Where's the mentality at? Where's his style of play at? And just his overall comfort level with the team and whatnot. So I think my eyes will tell me a lot in this game off the rip about Jamal Murray. And I think that ultimately sets the tone for the Nuggets this season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Nuggets go as far as Jamal goes. We've known that for the last couple of years. Jamal against the Warriors is can be a difficult matchup because they have a lot of perimeter defenders.
Right.
And Jimmy and Draymond also provide some really good wing defense as well. I think it's always been a challenge for Jamal to try and keep up with the Warriors and the level of shooting of Steph Curry. Like, not saying like he can't do it, but more so like he takes that on as a challenge because he views himself as a player that can do some of the things that Steph Curry is. I don't think if you ask Jamal Murray if he's better than Steph Curry, he would tell you that. But I think Jamal wants to model his games and ways after Steph Curry, and he's thought that way for a long time. So I am looking at Jamal as a player tonight that say, hey, where are you at? You talked about this offseason. You're in better shape. Your mentality's better. How does it come night 1? How do you factor in with Cam Johnson? And what are you looking for specifically maybe with that relationship with Cam and Jamal?
Well, I think with Cam, real quick, just in broad stroke, you want to see how he gels with the starting unit as a whole. But, right, Cam Johnson is kind of absorbing that that Michael Porter Jr. role, and we know that Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic love to play off one another. But, like, how does Cam Johnson mesh with Jamal? Because so often you'd see MPJ just sit at the top of the 3-point line or sit in the corner, kick out pass from Joker or Jamal to drain those threes. Is it a little bit different? Cam Johnson can obviously shoot the 3 at a high clip, but maybe not in the same style of play in which Michael Porter Jr. So Is it more slashing with Cam Johnson? Is there now like a three-headed kind of dynamic adding in a Cam Johnson? Is he sitting out more on the perimeter? So I think a lot of it is, with Jamal Murray being the guard for this team, how does he work on his facilitating? Because I've never thought of Jamal, or go ahead.
Yeah, but and we can go back and forth on this, but on what you're talking about right now is, Jamal's not necessarily the traditional point guard. I'm with you. Nikola Jokic is really the traditional point guard.
Center.
Yeah, no doubt. But the thing that they've struggled with is not only ball pressure, which I've talked about so much, but all the attention perimeter defenders were paying the Nuggets was Jamal Murray. There was no other way for the Nuggets to get inside the paint besides a post-entry pass to Nikola Jokic without Jamal Murray doing it himself. Cam Johnson, and having the gravity as well as the ability to drive, I think will change the way people defend Jamal Murray. And that's going to be really interesting because I don't think Jamal Murray is going to be defended the way he was tonight and this season, unless you go back to literally when Will Barton was on the team and the Nuggets really had another guy that can break down a defense.
Yeah, no, that's really well said. And Cam talked about it. I believe it was an introductory press conference about, how he's gone through kind of this metamorphosis in his career, right? Kind of a true role player when he was with the Phoenix and then more of a ball dominant guy there in Brooklyn. So I think, with Michael Porter Jr. and with Christian Brown as being the example from last year's team, those are guys that don't really, handle the ball exceptionally well, when the ball's in their hands as distributors and creators, right? These are slashers and playmakers. Whereas I think Cam Johnson provides a little bit more of that versatility where he can ISO, he can have the ball in his hands and not run the offense, but, hold his own in that sense. And I think to your point, that's going to open up a lot of different opportunities and looks for Jamal.
Yeah, that to me is the biggest thing about Cam Johnson is Cam Johnson is a very good player. We know that he should score maybe even 20 points a game for the Nuggets. But Cam Johnson, as an addition to the Nuggets lineup, it's all about fit, as we learned with KCP and the Nuggets trading two starters, Monte Morris and Will Barton for KCP. With Cam Johnson, he shifts the responsibilities of Jamal Murray, of Christian Brown, and of Aaron Gordon. And those shifted responsibilities should make each individual player more efficient and effective at the thing they need to do for this team to become the best team that they hope to be. Obviously, Nikola Jokic isn't going to shift anything he's doing because he's great and he'll adapt. But that to me is the most interesting part about Cam Johnson is it's not just how Cam Johnson integrates with the Nuggets, it's how do the Nuggets integrate with Cam Johnson.
100%. And I think what's going well for the Nuggets in that dynamic as well is how team focused they are, right? Like I think you see like around the NBA, a lot of star-driven players and star-driven teams and whatnot. And I think because the Nuggets kind of play that style of team-first basketball, that it's going to allow Cam Johnson to hopefully, in theory, fit in seamlessly to this Nuggets offense. Because, I always use the term basketball nirvana. Like when the Nuggets are firing on all cylinders, that's the equivalent. You get a touch, you get a touch, you get a look, you get a look. And I think with Cam Johnson's professionalism, but also just his skill set, again, being able to play in multiple different ways, it should fit into the Nuggets seamlessly. The question is, does it fit in seamlessly right away, or there's some growing pains?
No doubt. So the Warriors have had a weird offseason, to say the least.
That's one way to put it.
They didn't really get their business done until very recently. They're a very old team. They played 2 nights ago. I think there's 2 ways to look at this. One, they're already played. They've already got some gel. They actually have a more consistent group that have been together for longer, and that's not that long because they just traded for Jimmy Butler and shook up their whole team, and Al Horford's a big addition, obviously. But the Nuggets are literally rolling out 4 new rotation players tonight. Yeah. So I think there are potentially some growing pains. So I understand why the Nuggets would be underdogs. I'm not worried about what that means for the potential of the season because they still have the second championship favorites. But
let's say this real quick, too. If they lose this game, it doesn't – I don't put really any
season's not over. Fire David Adelman?
No, as long as nobody gets hurt. Like, that's the thing. Is like, an injury could derail this season for Denver.
I don't want to think about that court and people getting hurt. I'm just going to put that out there. Yeah. So, let's not do that.
Good. Move on. Let's move on.
Please. But shifting from Jamal, the second thing I think I'm looking for, and we talked about before the show, and this could be Jamal, is who's the second leading scorer tonight? We all know it's going to be Nikola Jokic leading the Nuggets in points. Most likely, I guess the leading scorer could be someone else than Nikola Jokic. It happens every once in a while. But besides Nikola Jokic, who's going to be the primary scorer is the real question. And to me, this could be Aaron Gordon. Obviously, an interesting matchup with Al Horford. I think Al Horford was acquired by the Warriors in large part due to Aaron Gordon for the Nuggets. This could be Cam Johnson in his first game as a Nugget. This could be Jamal Murray, as we've seen at times. Could it be Tim Hardaway getting hot off the bench? Could it be Julian Strawther getting hot off the bench? I don't even know if Julian Strawther is going to play tonight. There's a lot of candidates. Is it Bruce Brown's return to Denver game? So do you have a pick of who you believe will be the second leading scorer, or the primary leading scorer, whoever's not Nikola Jokic as the most points scored for the Nuggets.
Yeah, I think naturally, just because of what we've seen, you think it's going to be Jamal Murray. I mean, that would be my guess. But I think if all goes according to plan and we see as close to a perfect version of the Denver Nuggets as we could, I think it could really be Cam Johnson, man. Just kind of what we were talking about, playing off of Jamal Murray, playing off of Nikola Jokic. I mean, I just think Cam Johnson is going to have open looks, and obviously with his versatility to drive to the basket as well, he's going to be a playmaker with this offense here tonight. So, I'm curious as to how Golden State switches up their defense. You mentioned Al Horford and whatnot, Jamal's style of play. I think it lines up for Cam Johnson, but it would not surprise me if we get like a Brucey B or, a Tim Hardaway Jr., as you alluded to, just off the bench, just lighting the world on fire.
I would love it tonight if we get Brucey B with 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1 tech.
Yeah.
Just talking so much smack because he's so excited to be with Nikola Jokic again. He's like, you know what? I'm on a minimum contract right now, but guess what? I'm going to be making $20 million again next year because of this guy over here. This is my bank account. That's what he should call Nikola. He should call Nikola like U.S. Bank, like, or Serbia, Bank of Serbia, BOS. So I'm excited to see Brucey be back in a Nuggets uniform tonight. I would guess that the second leading scorer tonight will probably be Jamal, but I think Aaron Gordon has a real chance to be an all-star this year, especially with how he raised his profile as a basketball player, not just as a dunker in last year's playoffs. So many people garnered more respect for Aaron Gordon. I think Aaron Gordon is going to have a chance to be an all-defensive team player, and if he keeps up the level of shooting he does with all the little things he does and averaging like 17 points per game, the forward spot in the West can be taken, and Aaron Gordon will be a candidate to be an all-star. So I've said this before. I'll say it again. There's a chance that the second all-star that we've been waiting for the entire time with Nikola Jokic is not Jamal Murray. I thought it might be Michael Porter at times, but it could be Aaron Gordon, and I could see that happening this year, and I could see that starting tonight because I really like this matchup for the Nuggets because you're either putting Draymond or Al Horford on Nikola Jokic, and the other one you're putting on Aaron Gordon. So if it's Al Horford guarding Nikola and Draymond Green is a good defender, no doubt, former defense player of the year multiple times, but Aaron Gordon got a lot of size on that guy and a lot more athleticism. So
yeah, no, I think it's well said. And, we've just seen Aaron Gordon if Aaron Gordon can shoot from 3 the way that he did last year, couple that with the fact that he's an incredible slasher and a guy that just feasts off Nikola Jokic in and around the basket, to your point, like if it is Draymond on him, and I'm not trying to disrespect Draymond or Horford, like Jokic just draws that much attention. And when you add a Cam Johnson and who should be, 15, 20 points in that range as well, not as hot and cold as Michael Porter Jr., it just might open up for Aaron Gordon. So it's great that we can have this conversation and literally rip off 5 or 6 different guys that all have a chance to be the second leading scorer for Denver tonight. That's a good problem to have.
Over Aaron Gordon's last 12 games with the Nuggets that he was healthy, so before that hamstring injury, so this is all in the playoffs too, averaging 18, 7, and 3. I mean, that's awesome. And then if you go back to the regular season for the last, I'm just looking at it right now, the last 15 games Aaron Gordon played in the Nuggets for the Nuggets in the regular season, averaged 19, 5, and 4.
Yeah. Good numbers.
Those are awesome. And we know, we remember Aaron Gordon playing. So, we know.
Yeah.
What's the third thing we're looking for tonight?
I think my thing, you might disagree with me on this, but for me, you mentioned, that you mentioned it a little while ago, is just how the rotations look.
Yeah.
Like I'm curious as to how David Adelman, that first time out, second time out, whatever it might be, the non-Jokic minutes, how does he handle those? Is it a stagger, with Bruce? Like how do they stagger the starters with the bench players? Who gets the first call off the bench? You mentioned it. There's a chance we don't see Julian Strawther tonight. Like, do we see Peyton Watson? How much do we see? The guy that we haven't talked about either, Jonas Valanciunas. How does he fit in off the bench? Do we see the Twin Towers come out with Jonas Valanciunas and Nikola Jokic in this game as well?
Gonna absolutely work Guy Santos and Quentin Post. Like that would be sickening. I think Steve Kerr would have to call timeout immediately. Yeah, and I personally always enjoy watching Steve Kerr and Nikola Jokic go back at it after that Christmas game with all the complaining Steve did. So that's always fun to see. I'm just really happy basketball's back, and we're gonna get the inside guys tonight before and after the game. One of their few times on ESPN before the second half of the season after January. So not many appearances from the inside guys. Watched them last night. Been watching around the league, but before we get to around the league, definitely watching Jonas Valanciunas and his Nuggets debut tonight. I think that's so important, how the Nuggets utilize him. How many minutes does he play? Does he overlap with Jokic at all? Does Jokic actually not play that many minutes? Like, does he play only 30 instead of like 36 because of Jonas, and Jonas is capable of staying out there? So a lot of questions around Jonas. I would be surprised if we see both Peyton and Julian in the regular rotation tonight. I think one of them's going to have to sit. So that's already a big change from last year where both of those guys were relied upon. I'm excited to see Tim Hardaway Jr. in a Nuggets uniform. I remember when his dad was in a Nuggets uniform very briefly. So there are a lot of things to watch for. I think the big thing this season, though, obviously, is the bench and how good can they be. If the bench tonight is -2 or even better than that, I think that's already a giant win because they don't even have any chemistry together yet. So Jonas Valanciunas is where it all starts on the bench, and Jonas Valanciunas tonight has a really good matchup.
Well, and I forget which outlet he did the interview with, but I believe Jonathan Wallace maybe a week or two ago came out and, talked about the offseason that Denver had. And you bring up Julian Strawther and Peyton Watson, how they might not play tonight. And this is paraphrasing here, but Jonathan Wallace had a quote along the lines of, that Calvin Booth method of we're going to have great players and we're also going to try to develop players at the same time. That can stunt the overall ceiling of the team with the great players. So just because you don't see Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I think it's a reflection of where the Denver Nuggets are at and the importance of having these Tim Hardaway Juniors and these Jonas Valanciunas and guys that are, able to up the ante and push the chips all the way in for the Denver Nuggets in this game. No pun intended with that.
Yeah,
my bad.
Let's be careful.
Yeah, my bad.
We've seen a couple NBA teams. We haven't seen the Nuggets yet. They haven't yet to make their debut. Saw the San Antonio Spurs. We've seen the Houston Rockets. We've seen a lot of different teams so far. I personally, what I've seen so far from basketball around the league is I really enjoyed NBC's commentary and the way they presented their first game. I really enjoyed seeing the inside guys last night. That's fun. That's always like a time of basketball starting.
It looks similar too, real quick on Inside the NBA. Like it didn't look like it was this whole new show, which is great.
It felt very similar. And
that was the worry.
I think, like I said on Twitter the other day, one of my biggest questions entering the season was about Houston and Oklahoma City. And in that with Houston and Oklahoma City, what we saw was a really competitive game, and how those two teams closed, I thought was going to be interesting. It's something I'm going to be monitoring all season long. But for you, AP, so far throughout the first couple games of the season, is there anything that's really stuck out to you that, Nuggets fans maybe need to be worried about?
Yeah, 100%. I'm sitting on my couch last night after eating dinner, and I'm watching the San Antonio Spurs take on the Dallas Mavericks. The easiest way to put it here, Jake, the Denver Nuggets have to win a championship this season because this fool Victor Wembanyama, what I saw last night with the dunking, I mean, it looks like he plays on a Little Tykes basketball hoop with his size, his strength, his ability. I mean, he makes the game look easy.
I told you he had a Shaq dunk now. I told you.
Yeah, and Victor Wembanyama's time, I think it might be, next year, the year after that. It just might be right now. I mean, the guy is an absolute freak of nature. Just watching him play last night, I'm actually a little concerned about, like, if this guy can reach close to his full potential this year with the other piece that San Antonio has, I don't know if anybody can beat them, Nikola Jokic included. The Nuggets have to win the NBA title this year because this fool Victor Wembanyama is not going anywhere anytime soon.
And he would have been the defensive player of the year last year had he stayed healthy. He's the only guy that's literally slowed down Nikola Jokic at all. Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green haven't been able to do it. Those are the depoys at the big position. And Nikola's run into some issues with Victor Wembanyama. So I'm worried about the Spurs. If they decide to go in all in, they have the assets to get Giannis. They have the assets to go get a giant player and pair him with Victor Wembanyama. Think about this. They could get Lauri Markkanen and put him next to Victor Wembanyama. That's 2 7-footers that are incredible and can shoot, lights out. So I'm with you. I talked about it on our most recent pod with Victor Wembanyama. I think that's the number one thing Nuggets have to be worried about for the future is when does that championship window really open up in San Antonio? And I'm not so sure it isn't this year. I'm not there yet. I think I need to see more out of their guards and perimeter defense. But thing that you didn't even talk about is Stephon Castle, who was the rookie of the year, looked incredible last night. He looked like he took another level up, and he's one of my favorite young players in the league. And then you've got Harper.
Number 2 overall pick.
Dude, they're loaded. And Fox didn't even play last night. Yeah. And he's a former, one of the best players in the league.
It's just crazy. Like, I'm watching Wemby, and it's just like he makes everybody look small. I know, like, it's naturally that's what you're going to say and whatnot, but like the ferociousness in which he plays with, I mean, his ability to dunk and just shoot the three. I mean, he's an alien. Like, he's just absolutely an alien. And I don't know if anyone can stop this guy when he reaches his full potential paired with everything else they've got going for them right now in San Antonio. So I was just watching last night and watching this opening night slate, and Victor Wembanyama just took my breath away. The dude is an absolute freak of nature, and the Nuggets need to be on notice.
So me and you share a similar birthday, AP.
1 day apart.
Yeah, 1 day apart. A couple years ago for my birthday, my wife tried to get me a Mets 97 Victor Wembanyama's jersey from his days in France. It got lost in shipping, and I think that's going to be a devastating thing that didn't happen because it's going to look like, a Jordan UNC jersey here in 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't even know what to say about the guy.
I still want the Pepto-Bismol Jokic jersey from Serbia.
Yes, I want that one as well.
Yeah.
That's clean. I like all the different jerseys.
I mean, yeah, I've been trying to get a Serbia, 1-5 with the J, the Sergia, I don't know how to pronounce it.
About.
Yeah, I mean, like, when I get some more money here, so give me a raise, please, people here at the
nice,
fan.
Right?
That money's going straight to like 8 Nikola Jokic jerseys, just so we're clear. But yeah, like I said, I think Nikola Jokic is still the best player in basketball. For how long? It's tightening, but we get to see the best player in basketball return tonight on a team that might win a championship, and you've barely gotten to say that in Denver Nuggets history. You've only gotten to say that the last couple of years. So please, 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 and this is something I used to say all the time back on the Rocky Road podcast, shout out the OGs,
throwback.
is, man, this is going to be a ride, but please get into it. If you're a Nuggets fan, you should get invested in this team. You should get emotional because this is going to be a really, really fun year, and there will be highs, there will be lows. But if you're ever going to fall in love with a team, I think this is the team to fall in love with, and you're going to have some stuff this year that's going to be really fun. And, they're still selling tickets. You can get tickets to the Nuggets Heat game in a week for $10. Get in there to Ball Arena. So
that's crazy.
I'd recommend watching this team as much as possible. And day after Thanksgiving, I think Victor Wembanyama's debut this season here at Ball Arena. So
I'll be there.
We'll be there. I'm like, I told my in-laws I'm not coming for Thanksgiving this year. I have to watch Victor Wembanyama play. So shout out Lisa. I know you're listening. Love you. Anilo, Jake, thank you for listening to Mile High Hoops podcast. We'll talk to you next Monday. Follow all of our coverage on denversports.com. I will have a comprehensive post-game recap of all my thoughts that happen later tonight. Probably some social clips as well. Cannot wait to watch the Denver Nuggets play basketball again. We'll talk to you soon.